everybody, how the devil are you? This is Cirque, and today I want to talk about one of my other loves, other than video games, and music, and anime, and TV shows, and comics, and manga. One of my other greatest loves, arguably the one I spend the most time on, movies. I've talked about movies before, and I intend to talk about them in the future as well, because, again, I love movies. Specifically, I want to talk about the Marvel movies, the franchise, and partially I'm going to probably bring up some DC just for comparison and contrast, because I want to talk about my fear for Avengers Endgame. Now, Marvel's been pretty consistent with their film delivery, so I'm not really worried about the kind of quality of the filmmaking. It's still helmed by the Russo brothers, who have done a phenomenal job with everything they've touched. So again, this isn't really a major concern. It's just one thing that I've read about that kind of makes me go, uh-oh. And that is Captain Marvel. Now, the Captain Marvel film was alright. Wasn't the best film, it wasn't the worst. When it comes to origin films, it's not the best and not the worst. It just sort of, for me, it sort of just fell in the middle there. Honestly, maybe even lower middle. Well, especially when you take out other origin films, then it does sort of fall down a bit further. But it was a good movie, it was a quality movie. The thing that's making me sort of worried though is that Kevin Feige, the head of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has mentioned that if you take all of the characters' power levels as if they were trading cards, Captain Marvel will be the best, the most powerful. Up until now, the balance of the characters has been pretty well done, especially like in moments where, like in the Avengers or Captain America Civil War or Thor Ragnarok, when you have two heroes or more fighting, coming to blows, there's been a lot of like balance between the characters. Captain America fought Iron Man to a standstill. Iron Man with his Hulkbuster armor fought the Hulk to a standstill. The Hulk fought Thor to a standstill in Thor Ragnarok. In Civil War, there was a lot of great like one-on-one fights as well as group battling, and everybody sort of came off as similar in strength. There were some sort of like discrepancies because there is obviously like a power hierarchy. Hawkeye is essentially useless against Vision. Scarlet Witch can beat Vision. Hawkeye could probably do pretty well against Scarlet Witch. It's sort of it's not this is like the power levels are here, 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 and that's it. It's not like a Yu-Gi-Oh card where 4,000 power is stronger than 2,000. It's more like it's more like betting on horses. So like the odds between them, if one of the other horses is having a particularly good day, it can outrun seemingly better horses. I mean, your best bet's normally to bet on the bigger ones. Normally I'd go for the Hulk on this because he's a muscle-bound monster of hatred. But sometimes he'll be beaten by a seemingly weaker person because they're having a good day, he's having a bad day. They use their environment better, weaponry, all sorts of things. So the balance of the characters has been pretty well done so far. Now, the reason why I was saying that I'm probably going to bring up DC is because the balance in those films sucks. Specifically Justice League. I did a full video about Justice League. If anyone's interested in hearing me talk about that, I can talk about that movie at length because it is enjoyably bad. It's so dumb. So dumb. Everything about it. If you ripped the audio out of the film, it would probably make as much sense. Some scenes will probably make more sense because it's so dumb. There's like, the scenes don't make any sense the way they link together. Like they establish something in one scene and then the next scene is they establish something else and then they do a third scene which basically says, oh, those other scenes were actually pointless. Or you could have skipped those scenes and gone from here to here, but then you wouldn't get this scene where nothing actually happened. It's insane the way that film was put together and established. But I'm going off on a tangent here because I love bad movies and that was really bad. I would in the future like to watch it again with other people so I can sort of point out to them how stupid everything is and maybe get some of their ideas on how ridiculously terrible the ideas in that film are. But anyway, power levels. So in Justice League you've got Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash. Is that it? Aquaman. You got your basic heroes and like power levels are sort of balanced, but yeah. Like Wonder Woman is stronger than like Wonder Woman is sort of the best in that team. Then it's sort of like Aquaman and Batman are around the same level, worse than Wonder Woman, at least in some scenes, and stuff like that. But Cyborg is hard to place in the hierarchy because he doesn't really do much. He turns up later in the film and then he doesn't really do much. And then you've got the Flash, who is understandably nervous about, supervillains and whatnot. So he doesn't do a whole lot, and he's more used as a support character and for like rescue and stuff like that, which is fair enough. I mean, Hawkeye isn't a particularly strong unit in the Avengers, but he's good support and his combat skills are used appropriately in the franchise. So their hierarchy of their power is kind of like, everyone's sort of balanced-ish. It's hard to tell, but they all seem to be sort of like, okay. The bad guy is way stronger than them. He beats them all pretty easily. Which is, again, not a problem because the bad guy should be very powerful in order to be an actual threat to a group of superheroes. The problem with the power levels in the Justice League is that Superman is way overpowered. Every other character is essentially worthless, and all they do is sort of just hang around until Superman turns up and saves the day. And he turns up and saves the day very easily. He turns up and he goes, "Oh, Steppenwolf, bang." He beats it. Easily. Not only that, but the Flash is saving people, and then Superman flies past with a house filled with people. So he turns up and he says, "Okay, I'll beat your bad guy, and also I'll do the other jobs that you were doing as well way better." Basically meaning that every other character is worthless. Like, their only point was to get to the point where they brought him back. And again, part of the issue of the film is that the main characters are worthless, because the only reason Steppenwolf gets to the last cube thing that he's looking for is because they're all doing the stuff with Superman. They don't need to all be there. They could have left somebody in charge of the precious cube that holds the fate of the world. But instead, they all go to Superman, and then Steppenwolf just walks in and goes, "Oh, thanks," and leaves. So they're idiots. Power levels are completely messed up and unbalanced. It's essentially like a group of kids who meet up with a big bully who's too strong for them to handle, so they go, "Oh, I'm gonna get my big brother and he's gonna beat you up." And then they do, and he does. So the knowledge that Captain Marvel is stronger than every other hero that we've seen up until this point kind of is worrying in the ways of, like, is she going to be like swoop in and save the day against Thanos? Because that would sort of invalidate the first movie, where everybody came together and struggled against Thanos, and all of a sudden this relatively new character, from our perspective, we've only seen the film, which was a prequel to most of the others, and then she's in Endgame. So a relative newcomer to just swoop in and save the day. Now, I don't think that that's going to happen, purely because Thanos is such an impending bad guy. He's got the Infinity Gauntlet, he clicked away half the universe, he's a very powerful guy, and we haven't established the power level of Captain Marvel yet, really. She only uses her power near the end of the film, so it's kind of like still indeterminate, and she hasn't really appeared with any of the other heroes. Even the villains that she dealt with, like, she fought against Ronan, who was the bad guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, but she fought him in a giant ship and then he retreated. So you can't even gauge power levels via that, because she didn't really deal with him. She dealt with his ship. I feel like her power level is probably not going to be... I feel like the way that they've set it up is probably Captain Marvel's power is the highest. Like, if she goes full power against any other single hero at full power, she'll come out on top core damage wise. But again, it depends on how much power everybody's putting out, who she's up against. If she goes up against Captain America and Iron Man at the same time, will they come out on top? Can Iron Man create some sort of weaponry to rein in her cosmic powers? Well, I don't think they're actually cosmic powers, but whatever her power source is, the Tesseract. And, like, yeah, I don't feel like she's going to be Superman levels of overpowered, but I worry that, like, that's the one thing that could possibly ruin the franchise, is if they just elevated that one character so high above everybody else that everything we've been watching up until now is worthless. And every subsequent film will be like, Captain Marvel will come in. There's no need to worry. Because it's like, once you've established that there's a power that high in the universe of your world, then, you know, every other story is sort of like, yeah. I mean, big like world-changing events and stuff like that. Captain Marvel, sure. She's super powerful. She wouldn't let it happen. She'll turn up to save the day. Superman will save the day. He's the good guy. He's super powerful. That's what he does. So, if they give her that level of power, it might cause issues, but I'm hoping that they don't, and I feel fairly confident in saying they won't. It's my one fear, and it's probably unfounded, but I wanted to talk about it, especially before the film drops, because after, it kind of makes no sense. So, looking forward to Avengers Endgame very much. Every film in the Marvel franchise so far, I've either liked or loved. So, their track record is, for me, spotless. Even if some of the films sort of fell a bit flat in comparison to others, I've loved or very much enjoyed every single one of them in comparison to other films, like action films, stuff like that. I'm totally on board for the connected universe, everything in relation to everything else. So, comparatively weaker films, I still enjoy because I know that they're building towards other films that I love. Like, I enjoy Captain America: The First Avenger. It's not the best film, it's one of the weakest, but I enjoyed the practical effects in the first half of the film. It seemed very like action oriented and almost like a secret agent-y kind of stuff, which is really cool and I enjoyed. But I appreciate that movie because it led to The Winter Soldier, which is one of the strongest films in the franchise, and it really just built on that whole Captain America as a Jason Bourne style action hero, which he works super well at. So yeah, again, Marvel has been doing pretty good stuff for over 10 years now. I feel like their track record will probably continue, and I hope it does. Let me know in the comments what your favorite and least favorite Marvel films are, or if you want to talk about DC, that's fine too. I haven't really seen many of the DC films because every one I've seen has been bad. But if you want to talk about them, if you want me to watch a particular film and talk about it, by all means let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do. That's it for this one. Ciao for now.